In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a working TNT run in Minecraft. So as you can see, I'm right over here, and I can make this working TNT run. Wherever I run, the TNT will fall. And it is pretty easy to do. All you're going to need to do is grab a lot of TNT and a lot of one certain falling block. And then you're going to have to do a little bit in the placement of this TNT run as well. And I'll be showing you another variation where you actually waste less resources on this as well. So let's get into it. Now, starting off, what you're going to need to do is obviously get the TNT and any type of falling block. So a falling block can be any of the sands like normal sand or red sand. It can also be gravel and any of the concrete powders. Now once you got your favorite falling block, it is actually time to build it. Now what you're either going to want to do is put a obsidian barrier on the ground over here. So however big you're going to make this, you need an obsidian barrier underneath. Or if you're making this in creative mode, you can put the void underneath or any type of bedrock or something that won't explode. Now obviously you're going to need to build this up fairly high, considering if multiple TNTs explode at once, it'll actually cause the others to launch in the middle of the air, which is obviously a problem as it might hit back up here and break the floor beneath you. So what you're going to need to do is build this pretty high as well. If you build it high enough, you may not need to deal with the obsidian / ground problem. So I'd recommend going up probably about 100 blocks away from the ground, and then once you have that, you can start building your platform. One more thing to mention is that you can actually make this any shape you want and however big you want. This can be infinitely expanded depending on how much resources you actually have. So don't worry about any of that other stuff, like how big it has to be and all of that. Anything is fine, and just remember that if you have enough resources, then you could probably do it. And once you have your TNT platform down, it is time to place in the falling block. The falling block will go directly on top of it, and you'll just do it just like so. Now for this design of TNT run, you actually cannot have multiple floors as it would blow up with the TNT. So make sure that you know that before actually making this. A way that you could have multiple floors is building it similar to how they do on some maps of TNT run, where they have like a little hole in the middle, and within that little hole there could be a bottom part about probably, I would say, maybe 10 blocks down so the person doesn't die from fall damage. Something like this, where there's like a little platform that doesn't connect with the TNT locations. So obviously you would have to make it pretty big, but you know, expand it however big your actually TNT run is going to be. But once again, if you want to do a second layer that badly, just make a hole inside of it, make some weird geometry, and then you can actually make it so that there's a second layer, but it might be slightly harder to do so. And you can even add one on the edge as well, just make a hole wherever the TNT is going. Okay, but now once you have that, you're actually gonna have to place a stone pressure plate on top of this. Now you can use other pressure plates. As you can see, if we search up pressure plates, there are a ton of them. All of the wooden ones, they can be used, and this light and heavy pressure plate can also be used. But the main problem with that is if you actually throw a block onto these pressure plates, they will actually fall. So as you can see, if I threw a block there, those two would fall, and if I threw a block there, that would fall as well. Because then players would just be throwing blocks down so that they could trigger the pressure plates without you wanting them to actually do that. So obviously only use them if you're trying to make like a bow type TNT run, or just like, you know, throwing blocks. You don't care if you're gonna make them like take off their inventory and that type of stuff. But obviously I'd recommend either using blackstone or a stone pressure plate. Now once you have that done, what you're gonna need to do is just fill that up all the way. Just make sure to choose whichever type of pressure plate you want. This is completely customizable, but make sure to have that on every block so that players cannot cheat and just stand on one block without it. So once you have that done, it is basically completed. Now I'm going to be showing you guys another way of how to do it, like an economic way, where you will actually not lose any stuff and you're just going to need one block. But as you can see, we can start it here. I'd recommend making a starting platform, obviously, since these will fall the immediate second you touch it. so make a starting platform like all the way around. And I recommend the starting platform to obviously be raised so the players cannot get back up on there. But once you have a starting platform, you can jump down on it and run across. I'd recommend jumping more so, because if you run completely, it will work for a little while, but then you will eventually fall, as you are actually slower than the block falling. So I'd recommend doing that as well. But as you can see, it is a pretty fun game to play. But how do you actually do this the more renewable way? Now for this one, you will have some optional blocks to actually use again. What you can do is use clay, coarse dirt, farmland, grass blocks, moss blocks, mycelium, podzol, and rooted dirt. Now those are all the blocks that you can actually place the drip leaf on top of, so you'll have to use some sort of selection. So all you're going to need to do is choose your block and make a small platform. Once again, make this a small platform, unless you're adding something else in, but I'll mention that at the end of this. But once you actually have this, fill it up with drip leaves. Now I'd recommend growing it 2 up just like so that the player cannot get back up, but they can fall down just like that. And 2 is obviously the minimum. You can go as high as you want, but try not to kill the player unless that's your goal and you actually want them to die and respawn back up on the starting platform. But once you actually have this all filled in, all you're going to need to do is simply just walk on it. Now as you can see, when you walk on it, it'll start to fall, and once it gets to this final stage, it'll make you fall down here and you'll kind of be stuck. So you could make it too high, which is the very minimum, and as you can see, you're going to be crouching down here. So if you make it 3 high, you can actually allow the players to walk. But as you can see, if you just walk on it for a little bit, all of them that you walk on will actually fall down eventually. But they will also get back up after a little while. That's why I would make the course a little bit smaller than normal. But obviously, if you're going to have multiple players, I'd make it bigger than what I have here. So obviously make it big, but don't make it too big, or else the players will actually never kill themselves unless they directly try to fight each other. But what you could also do if you want a really big platform for this TNT run game is actually add in stuff like snowballs or bows. As you can see, if I throw a snowball at this, it will actually immediately fall, which is really good for actually knocking the other player off, making this kind of like TNT Spleef instead of TNT Run. But you can add these as like bonuses, like chests across the map that people can pick up, or just random drops on the map that people can actually pick up. And this would be very useful for making a big map and allowing the other player to spleef the other one off. But anyways, that's the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.